there for the Blue Jays. Big moment there, trying to keep up pace with the Astros in the American League West. But here's the deal. Feels good for the Blue Jays, but not like the Raptors are going to get LeBron or anything, right?
LeBron can dominate them. He can't dominate another
sport. Not going to happen, right?
No. But maybe in 5 hours and 58 minutes we'll have a resolution either way. Counting down to July. Counting down to the start of the new league year. And a free agent frenzy. And Mike, bottom line, keep your eyes on the sky.
Yeah, because that's what was happening in Los Angeles today as everyone was watching this private jet fly from the Caribbean to Nuys Airport just north of Los Angeles because LeBron was on it. He had been vacationing with his family in the Caribbean, but now he is in Los Angeles. Of course, teams can start to contact players at midnight tonight. That's 9 o'clock in L.A. The Lakers, of course, are very interested in LeBron, but LeBron also has 2 houses there in the greater Los Angeles area, including Brentwood, and he spent a lot of summers there. But let's be real. I mean, you're going to have teams come holler at you. I mean, I'd like to be in L.A. if that was going to happen for me. Adrian Wojnarowski back here with us on SportsCenter. So we know where he is. What else do we know about LeBron and the impending free agency period?
Well, he goes into free agency now without having any real direct contact himself with the Cleveland organization, with the front office, with ownership. They haven't had really any direct communication since the season ended. The Cavs lost in the finals.
Right.
And so they tried at times to figure out a way to maybe do some things with their roster and clearing cap space or working on some trades. But at every turn, their sense was, we aren't going to make long-term decisions for our organization without knowing what LeBron's going to do. He's not giving them direction. And so that's kind of where the Cavs are poised here, as LeBron now can start talking with the Lakers and any other team he'd like to at midnight Eastern.
Well, I mean, if you're the Cavs, you would read that as an indication maybe he's moved on from us, but at the same time, you don't know that until you actually have a conversation with them, which they can start to do sometime later tonight. So that's LeBron. Of course, Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka also in pursuit with the Lakers in Los Angeles. But let's go over to Kawhi Leonard, because there was some talk, Woj, that LeBron wanted to see where some of these other dudes landed before he made his decision. That's why the Lakers were maybe trying to get a deal done with the Spurs prior to from a trade standpoint. Where does it stand right now what the Spurs are going to do?
Well, the Lakers have made offers to the Spurs, but they've not been aggressive. Neither has Boston or Philly. All of these teams who, have the assets to get a deal done have been cautious on how much they've offered. And this has not been a process that quickly escalated with teams trying to top each other. There's really been a feeling out process here of what exactly the Spurs want and what it would take to get a deal done. But the Lakers, now this can change in a moment's notice. It can change with one phone call, and that's how it often happens this time of year in the trade market. But right now, there's no deal imminent for Kawhi Leonard, and the Spurs, they're not going to give Kawhi Leonard away. This is a top 3 or 4 player in all the NBA, and they still have the one ace the Spurs believe they have in their pocket is they can offer Leonard that $219 million Supermax contract so they can play this thing out. The February trade deadline is the last point they could lose him for nothing, and that's several months away.
We mentioned the fact that LeBron's sort of waiting to see how things play out. I apologize for putting you on the spot here with this one, Woj. Have you gotten the sense from some of the people you've spoken to that some of these other players would like to see where LeBron goes first before they make a decision, or is it just every man for themselves?
Yeah, I think all of these players have great, so listen, Leonard is a trade, but, Paul George, Oklahoma City's done a tremendous job of recruiting him, of selling him on a future there, and they're in strong position. LA is going to have to do work here in this open period to really turn Paul George's head. A year ago, they thought they had him.
Right.
And so I think while they're all keeping an eye on each other and what's going on in their processes, their decisions, yeah, I think you're seeing players independently trying to figure out what's best for them. Any of these players know if they go into L.A., it's always going to be a draw. They can go out in free agency, if not this year, next year, and add more talent, whether that's James individually or Paul George individually.
Of course, the Lakers are trying to get 2 big-name players either this summer or next summer. We'll see how it plays out again, less than 6 hours away from the free agency period starting. Rose, appreciate it.
I'm true to my craft. So I know how much I put into the game. And then at the end of the day, whatever happens, happens.
James kicks it out hard. James brings beats and Leonard, you bet! Pushes the other way. Backing it home is Paul George. Irvin off the back.
what happens.
Well, as evidenced by his insane 51-8-8 game in the finals that resulted in a loss, LeBron James frankly needs and really deserves some help. So what are we talking about here? Well, the teams on your screen, much like the Cavs in the finals, no chance to appease James. They're out, as if they were ever in. Our Scoop Jackson now on those that need, for matter of basketball parlance, an assist to capture the king.
Now that the no shots are out of the way, let's dip into those teams who are, or believe they are, one player away. Now, exactly what that away actually means, only they know. But these teams have best case scenarios themselves to hope LeBron sees what they see. And that him joining forces with them, probably, almost, kinda, sorta, maybe, guarantees a ring. First up, New Orleans. Add LBJ to a team that could bring Boogie Cousins back. To a lineup that already has AD, Rondo, and Drew Holiday. That's a basketball murderer's row. Then there are the Bucks, Wizards, Blazers, and Thunder. 4 teams that don't necessarily have room under the cap right now to make the LeBron James thing happen. But can. If there's enough rumors floating that LeBron may come to them, they will do anything that has to be done to free up enough financial space to, at minimum, rent LeBron for 1 season. All are in position to shed contracts and create cap flexibility in order to land LeBron. But even with the one player away theory in place, all 4 are still on the outside of the likely to be chosen landing spot. With no increase in the salary cap for the first time in 3 years, these teams still have money issues that's going to make it hard for them to seriously compete in the sweepstakes. But as we all know, when adding a global icon as part of a franchise's plan, anything and everything is possible.
Okay, so Scoop's narrowed it down considerably. Those that are left, the favorites, and a little rationale you might not be thinking of. Scoop with the inside scoop on the front runners on the way.
Well, of course, LeBron is not the only available free agent of a marquee status on the market. Kevin Durant, he can also join a new team if he wishes, although he's already indicated he fully intends to stay in the Bay. And the Warriors have said getting that deal done is their top priority. The only question is, what type of contract does KD want to stay with the defending champs? The front office insider Bobby Marks is back with us. All right, so the Warriors going for it to repeat clearly. We saw the Rockets do something to their roster to get to a point where they could contend with the Warriors out west. So if these dudes are going to stay together and keep it pushing for another title, how do they do it with all the money they have tied up?
Well, it's going to be expensive. Not Oklahoma City expensive,
right,
but it's going to be expensive. And the players under contract, we've got Steph Curry on that Supermax.
Right.
Remember, Klay Thompson's a free agent in 2019 and Draymond Green the following year. Actually, these 2 numbers actually equal a Supermax. So they are both on a discount, and Kevin Durant is your main free agent. Right now, they are under the luxury tax by about $16 million. When we add Durant at his max number, $34.5 million, look where the luxury tax goes. It jumps back up to $40 million. If let's put him back in, and let's say Kevin's going to take a discount. Okay? We'll drop it back down, $30 million, shave $5 million off, and we put him in, $14 million in savings.
Right.
So if he's going to take a discount, maybe he can bring somebody with him, maybe a Jamal Crawford. That is the name that we are all talking about. And if we slide Crawford in at the $5 million tax mid-level exception, that goes in there. And basically, Crawford comes in at the discount that Durant came in at.
Right.
So that is how, if Kevin wants to do that, he can, but the choice is his. There's no reason for him to take a discount this year.
Right, but he wants to stay with the squad. He wants them to be able to still compete, so it wouldn't be out of the question for him to do it, but as you said, he doesn't have to do it. A lot of things to consider for the Warriors. And by the way, Steve Kerr, brand new contract. Congratulations to him. Bobby, appreciate it.
And it can all have a front row seat for LeBron in L.A. All right, when free agency begins at 12:01 a.m. Eastern, it'll mark the start of the new league year, and maybe a brand new league if LeBron James ends up anywhere but Cleveland. For the third time in his career, he's about to make a move that will, in no uncertain terms, simply rock the foundation of the NBA to its very core. Our Scoop Jackson now on the teams that hope that rumbling involves them.
Here now, in this King's Ransom, are the front runners. You know the squads people close to the source say are on the King's short list. First up, Houston. If LeBron believes that Chris Paul has a chance of staying healthy throughout a few years of playoff runs, the choice is easy. Built to beat Golden State, the Rockets with LeBron could be the answer. And trust, LeBron knows this. Second, Boston. Just noise. But with so much to offer, it would be stupid to think that Danny Ainge does not have a shot at LeBron. And then there's the sexy choice, Philly. A team more than any other in this pod that has the centerpieces to both meet the current championship demand that LeBron has and keep him winning chips until he's 40. San Antonio is the most intriguing team of any LeBron could choose. Greg Popovich could be the Phil Jackson he never had. Now, what about those Lakers? With room for 2 max deals. LA, not only a prime destination for LeBron, but also in prime position to hand in the keys. And finally, Cleveland, the justifiers in this race for the king. If Dan Gilbert has a plan that he can sell to LeBron that has them beating the Warriors next year, LeBron saves. It's as simple as that.
If it was only so simple for Dan Gilbert. The odds to win, check this out. If LeBron goes to the Lakers by himself, he's at 6-1. Now listen to this. If Kawhi and Paul George join him in L.A., those three together, they'd be at 5-2. But even with all of those guys in L.A., they would still not be the favorite. Golden State would still have better odds to win it yet again.
Now, but that's also how we know that LeBron is currently hanging out in Los Angeles after this private jet carried him from the Caribbean, where he's vacationing with his family, to Los Angeles, landing at Nuys Airport in the valley just north of the city. Of course, LeBron and the Lakers have been tied together in terms of rumors and speculation over the last several days, last several weeks. But he does have 2 homes in the area as well, and he spent several summers in the past hanging out in Los Angeles. But the entire city of L.A., especially Laker Nation more specifically, really tied into LeBron's arrival with the impending free agency period starting a little bit later tonight, less than 7 hours. So to get a little deeper into this, of course, we bring in NBA senior insider Adrian Wojnarowski. We know that he's in L.A. right now. What else do we know about LeBron and his plans?
We don't know dinner plans. We don't know what he's got on tap tonight. But, you know, at midnight, the Lakers can contact LeBron James. They can start having a conversation with him. They can set up a meeting. Now, the NBA rules dictate that you can't do that before midnight.
Right.
It happens all the time in the league, but I think the Lakers are trying to put a premium because of the tampering fine they got earlier this year. They're kind of on double secret probation, so I think they can wait and then be able to start a conversation with him once they get to 901 on the West Coast.
Right. We often hear teams meeting around 901, 902, but again, according to the league rules, they have to first make contact before they can set up anything. We'll see if the Lakers are indeed the first team to get in front of LeBron. But let's talk about another person that we've heard a lot of speculation about lately, and that is Kawhi Leonard and the trade situation with the Spurs. As you've been reporting, several teams have been coming at the Spurs with deals, but nothing's been done as of yet. Where does it stand right now?
Yeah, I think there's really some cautiousness with all the teams in these talks. No one is falling over themselves offering San Antonio everything the Spurs want. Boston and Philadelphia have been talking with the Spurs. There's nothing imminent or close there. And the Lakers, they've gone, they haven't had as much regular dialogue with LA. The Lakers have not shown necessarily urgency that some thought they might as they were ramping up here to LeBron James's free agency, Paul George. That doesn't mean that the Lakers won't get more aggressive here, but so far they played it fairly cool. They haven't offered all the young players and assets, future picks that it would take for the Spurs to move quickly and do a deal. And right now, San Antonio knows we can play this out. Yeah. We can offer him that $219 million Supermax contract, and make them turn it down.
Yeah, again, of course, the speculation was the Lakers wanted to get two players clearly, and maybe LeBron wanted to wait and see who the Lakers were going to get before he decided where he was going to go, whether it was L.A. or not. So Woj is sticking around. Is going to be with us a little bit later here on Sports, and plenty more to dive into as it relates to free agency. Right now, it's over to Zubin.
Michael, thank you very much. Adrian, thank you very much. Just hit on parts 1 and 2 about the Lakers' dream trifecta. That's part 3. Paul George scheduled to become a free agent at 12:01 a.m. Eastern after declining his team option with OKC. Of course, could always remain there, but linking him to the Lakers was prevalent even when he played for the Indiana Pacers. So we're going to be in a situation here where we'll be watching this as well. Our Royce Young has watched every game he's played in the Thunder uniform. Could be past tense at this point. So what's the latest from OKC's side of things here on the Paul George front?
Yeah, Zubin, they still feel like they're in a great position. You know, free agency is about to open. It opens, like you guys said, 12:01. And the Thunder, they've tried to use kind of their advantageous position to continue to recruit Paul George, because that's the reason that they made the trade a year ago today. They made the trade stunning everybody, sending Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis to the Pacers for Paul George, is so that they could essentially take 12 months to begin selling Paul George. They knew that they were not going to get a seat at the table with him, and this was their opportunity to do so. So they've been in communication with Paul George and his representation. They understand that free agency is about to open. They like the position they're in. And if anything, Zubin, what they really like is that they're in the conversation, because there was no guarantees of that when they made this deal a year ago, that they even would have that seat at the table. But they are legitimately in the conversation for Paul George. And for the Thunder, that makes them feel pretty good.
Okay, got to mention, though, that this is kind of deja vu for the Thunder, because they've been here before. It was only a couple of years ago, I remember talking to you, that the Thunder was confident they'd be able to re-sign Kevin Durant. We obviously know how that turned out. So what makes Sam Presti, their general manager, think this situation is going to be any different, Royce?
Well, first of all, Zubin, how can you really bring yourself to think the other way? I mean, you don't want to go down that negative path. But, you know, I think for the Thunder, what the way that they kind of view this is, you know, these are two different situations. These are two different human beings. These are two different personalities. Yes, they both play small forward in the NBA. They're both all-star caliber players. They're both max-level guys that you want to re-sign, that said positive things about your franchise, and you hope to keep them. But the Thunder are trying to distance those two situations from each other. They thought they were going to keep Kevin Durant. They thought they were in a great position to do it. But one thing that I've been reminded a lot over the last few months about the Thunder is a lot of people kind of make that comparison that Kevin Durant left, so therefore this situation feels similar. I'll remind you that the last max player that the Thunder had up for virtually free agency didn't just re-sign once, he re-signed twice, and that's Russell Westbrook. So the Thunder do have a recent track record of being able to keep a star, not only any star, but a kid that grew up in Southern California.
No question about it. One more for you before I let you go, and this really revolves around, Presti's done some amazing things with drafting players, but if they get the rental on Paul George and it doesn't become long-term, and obviously the Carmelo situation didn't turn out the way that they wanted to, where does the organization sit knowing they went all in on those pieces and really could lose Paul George and really gotten nothing from Carmelo?
Yeah, it's a huge risk that they've embarked on, Zubin, and they understand that. They were putting a lot on the line here, and they felt like that they had to do it. And they're going to be in a position, if Paul George does leave in free agency, they're going to have a team with Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, a ton of salary committed to this roster. They'll be over the cap. And really, in some ways, Zubin, it's worse than Kevin Durant leaving, because Kevin Durant walked away for nothing. Paul George not only will walk away for nothing, but he cost the Thunder 2 players as well, because they had to trade to get him. So the Thunder will be in a difficult position, and at that point, they'll have an even cloudier future. They'll have to start asking themselves even more difficult questions about, what do you do with the future of Russell Westbrook? Do you try to retool again, even with fewer assets than you had before? Or do you finally just pull the plug and decide to go for the full rebuild? That will be the conversation the Thunder will begin to have. But again, they don't want to go down that negative path quite yet. They want to keep thinking positively, like they're going to get it done.
No question about it. And I think if there is any general manager in the league that's gotten the benefit of the doubt over the last few years, who's been able to turn something into nothing or nothing into something, depending on how you look at it. One is Daryl Morey, and definitely the other is Sam Presti. That's our Royce Young, who'll be counting down to midnight, just like the rest of us, and Thunder Nation. Great to have him with us. Okay, so we had our NBA front office insider, Bobby Marks, here. 20 years in NBA front offices. You know what the pressure is like on a day like this. We just talked to Royce. First priority is to get PG-13 back but they were eliminated in the first round. So you tell me, financially speaking, how does this all work considering all the money they got tied up in him and the money he could get if he wants it?
Well, this is going to be an expensive team to keep together. And we saw last week the Carmelo Anthony option, $28 million, opted into his contract. Where Oklahoma City right now is, they're at $119 million. The luxury tax is $123 million. So this is before we even add Paul George. There is no tax bill right now. This team is in the repeater tax 4 out of the past 5 years. They will be in the luxury tax. And when we add Paul George over, look at where that number goes.
Wow.
That is a $93 million tax bill. That's what Paul George, on top of his salary, that's $120 million just to bring in Paul George. That's just for this year. Oklahoma City knew that going into last year when they made the trade, when they traded out Victor Oladipo. That's the cost to bring back Paul George. And how do you get better? How do you improve this roster? And one player to take a focus on is Jeremy Grant.
Had a nice season, right?
He did. And let's put him in at $9 million. Look at where that goes. That went from $92 million to $137. That's $40 million plus, just for Jeremy Grant. And when you add it up, $157 million in salary, $138 million in luxury tax, and we haven't even filled out some of your minimums yet. So that we're on pace to possibly see the first $300 million team in NBA history. But Oklahoma City knew this when they did the Carmelo trade, when they did the Paul George trade, how expensive this team was going to be.
And keep in mind, as you take a look at those two figures here, the projected salary cap is $101 million. So there they are at $157, then the tax. The big story around this entire offseason, as Bobby knows, is there's a ton of teams that frankly just don't have any money to spend. And at this particular juncture, it looks like the Thunder could be in that group. We'll be watching at 12:01 and every second moving forward. Bobby, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as an unrestricted free agent, LeBron is eligible to join any of the NBA's 30 teams if he so chooses. But let's be real. We know that not every team is truly in the game when it comes to signing the king. Scoop Jackson helped us weed through the real buyers and the ones just browsing.
Who got the bag? One big enough to pay a king. Pay a king's ransom. Welcome to LeBron Watch Part 3, the 2018 version. He's become a human lottery ticket. Probably worth more now than he's ever been at any time in his career. Everybody's chips are in, but only a few have a legitimate opportunity to win. First, there's the no shot lot. The oh hell no and stop tweaking teams that don't have a Scoop Jackson chance in heaven of getting LeBron. Let's get those teams out of the way quick like. Brooklyn, Phoenix, Atlanta, Chicago. Dallas, Orlando, Sacramento, Memphis. Minnesota, Detroit, Denver. Don't hold your breath. Toronto, Utah. Not happening. Going back to Miami. This ain't Cali. He ain't LL. And although the Clippers are in Cali, they are not the LA organization in the current conversation. And then there is Golden State. And if LeBron can learn anything about the hate that KD has to live with from going there, if you made the list, sorry, no disrespect, but there's a strong chance LeBron is thinking about playing for you, probably about as much as we just did.